Hey, this is Anthony with Lucky Dog Guitars. I got my buddy Redd Volkaert from Merle Haggard and the Strangers Band here with me. Come by to visit today. We played a little show last night and had a good time. I'm surprised we're up this early, but I thought I'd get a chance just to ask you a few questions that I never got a chance to ask you, and some people might be interested in hearing. But before we get started, I was going to remind you of when I first met you. It was actually 1998 when U.S. Express was sponsoring the Merle Haggard tour, and I'd never heard of Redd Volkaert at that time, and I just remember really loving your style. I had not really been around any players that played your style at that time, and I think it kind of transformed my musical listening from that point forward, and I started searching out a lot of your stuff.
Don't blame me.
And all that, but I want to show you something real neat that you probably don't remember. This is the guitar that I played that day at that show with you and Biff and Noel. I think Noel played this guitar actually in that show, and I got another one in the house that I think you signed the back of, but you know, I remember telling Merle that day, I was probably 18 or something. I said, Merle, I'm not going to sell this guitar. And I know he's heard that probably 10 million times. But you know, if he was here today, I wish I could show him. You know,
but you didn't.
I've got like three or four guitars that he signed, and never sold one of them. They mean something to me.
Sure.
So anyway, thought you'd like to see that. Yeah. So Redd's down from Virginia, and I thought I'd ask you a few questions, what was your first guitar that you ever got?
First one I got was my brother's old hand-me-down, like the rest of his clothes. My brother's a year older, so he had decided he didn't want to play the guitar and wanted to take up the drums, so my dad said, I guess that I should take up the guitar, so I got the guitar. And it was a little Harmony. It was I guess a plywood guitar, all mahogany, looking like a single O size. I guess it would be a little tiny one.
Yeah.
And it was a mahogany guitar with a spruce top, from what I remember. But like I say, it was probably plywood, not real wood. It might have been, but so yeah, that was my first guitar, and then that was probably for about 2 or 3 years, I guess, and then my first electric that I got was called a Toledo was the brand, and I think it was like one of the Japanese brand ones that they made, and they just put a different logo on all of them and shipped them to different companies, kind of thing. But it was sort of like a real cheesy Fender Jaguar, but it had a really good whammy bar on it. And of course, I spent most of my time with that. Never learned anything. That was my first electric.
Well, my first guitar was a Giannini classical from Brazil, I believe.
You bet.
And I sold it or traded it to some kid in the neighborhood. And you know, years later, I regretted it because that was my first guitar.
Sure.
My dad got me. Well, fast forward about I'm going to say about 20 years. My dad called me from a pawn shop up here in Cleveland. And he said, hey, there's a Giannini acoustic up here in this pawn shop, and I've never seen one since you had one. And I said, is the decal label on the inside of the sound hole ripped off? He said, well, let me look. And he looked. Sure enough, the decal was half ripped off. It was my Giannini. Got it back for $39. That's another one I'll never sell again.
Man.
But my first electric guitar, after I showed that I cared about playing guitar, is my dad bought me a 68 Fender Bronco, and still got it. It's all original pickups and everything.
Awesome.
Really cool. So what was your first gig?
Well, would you call it a gig? I mean, it was neighborhood kids getting together, and there was one rich kid that we let him in the band because he had a swimming pool. So we played their pool party for their parents one afternoon, and then they paid us a silver dollar each. So that was my first paying gig, I guess, technically. But
that kind of reminds me a little bit of a story W.S. Holland told me one time. We played a show here in Chattanooga for a Johnny Cash thing with what's Johnny's bass player? Just slipped my mind. That played with him.
Dave Rowe.
Dave Rowe. He told me that Carl Perkins had told him that he needed to go down to the hardware store and get a drum kit because they're going to go record a song in Memphis, and WS didn't know how to play drums.
Right.
So he said for a week or so I practiced in the garage, and he said we drove down to Memphis, recorded this song, which happened to be Blue Suede Shoes at Sun Records, and and he said on his way home he asked Carl Perkins. He said, "Carl, it was such a great song. Why did you ask me to play drums? Why didn't you actually just get a real drummer?" He said, "Well, it's real simple." He said, "Elvis Presley records there at Sun, hangs out there a lot, and he said, you're the only person I knew who had a brand new black Cadillac, and I wanted us to look good when we pulled up in front of Sun Records."
Oh, that's great.
I'll always remember that story. I thought it was a
that's
great
why
one.
he got the gig.
So how did you end up with Merle Haggard? How'd that come about?
Well, I was living in Nashville at the time and had been there a while, and I was playing in Printer's Alley at a club called Skull's Rainbow Room, and it was I want to say it was 10:15 to 2:45, 6 nights a week gig. And I was playing downtown at Roberts and some other places as well, and so I would go up there and play the late shift thing there. And Merle's band, when they would come through town, they would do TV shows and whatever, that kind of stuff. But most of that stuff in town was done in the afternoon. The TV shows that you saw at night were pre-recorded and finished by 5 or 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
They did them in the afternoon, and then if they had any editing or fixing or swearing to cut out or whatever, then they would do that before they aired it at 8 o'clock on TNN at the time. And so anyway, when they finished taping, of course the band, they're done for the day, so they'd scatter and they'd head downtown and go hanging out, watching guys play and jamming and drinking and whatever and that sort of thing. So I was playing in the alley at the time, so a few of those guys started coming in, and they came to town 5-6 times a year, maybe something like that. So it just seemed like a bunch of them would come in and hang out and jam and stuff, and a little trio playing in there. So wound up getting to meet a bunch of the players at that time, and so eventually when the gig came open, I guess Merle had asked, they told me that Merle had asked the band, who do you guys want to get for an ex-guitar player, and 5 out of 8 of them said me. So I was like, oh, cool, man.
Yeah.
So he calls me up on the telephone, and I said, hello? And he says, hello, is this Redd Volkaert? I said, yeah. He said, this is Merle Haggard. And I said, Murph, you lying bastard. I thought it was my buddy Jim Murphy, steel guitar player who's since passed on. Amazing talent, but a shit stir of a guy, just always doing stuff, but pranks all the time. I assumed it was him. Merle Haggard never called me for what, if his lawnmower fixed, So he says, no, my name is Merle Haggard. I'm a singer. And when he said I'm a singer, something just clicked, like nobody says that. So maybe it is him. And I said, okay. And he said, yeah, Norm Hamlet gave me your number, and talking to Abe and Don and all the guys in the band, and I was like, oh, okay. And I'm starting to sweat, And he says, well, we're looking for guitar players, just wondering if you we're interested in the job. And I said, well, I don't know if you've heard me or not. He said, oh yeah, I've snuck into Roberts a few times and seen you play.
How does Merle Haggard sneak into Roberts?
In the back door in the balcony.
And nobody knows.
And I said, okay. And he said, well, would you be interested? And I said, yeah. I waited about a half a second and said, yeah.
I mean,
and that's how it happened.
To me, that's the king of country gigs right there.
Oh, for a Telecaster nut, that's probably as high as you can kick, I think.
Yeah.
So as soon as I hung up the phone with him, I called my mom and I said, hey, guess what? I can retire now. My mother said, did Merle Haggard call you? I said, yeah, he did. She's, oh my God.
I'm definitely envious of you to have got to spend all that time with
Me too.
Merle. I mean, I always there's always something I remember about everyone, and something that I always remember about Merle that I just will never forget is a funny story he told me on the bus that day we played that show. He said, you ever been out west? And I said, no. I said, I've been out to around Fort Worth. That's about as far as I've been. He said, well, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. He said, if you ever go out to San Francisco, and he said, you happen to drop your wallet, he said, go ahead and just kick it onto Bakersfield before you bend over and pick it up. And I never forgot that story. I just thought it was really a humorous little joke, you know.
Pretty country, right?
I'm sure
there.
You've probably heard a million of them out there. But so, what's one of the funniest things that ever happened out on tour that you can tell?
That's the thing. Well, lots of funny stuff. But like I say, some of it you can't really tell. The real good stuff, you know.
Any big mistakes in front of some big crowds or anything like that? I know I've had it.
No, I mean, not mistakes per se. I mean, I've been studying his music and trying to copy that stuff up to that point my whole life anyway, so I kind of knew most of the stuff. And back to that conversation on the phone when he called, I said, hey, can you have somebody, I said, can you, and then I went, I said, or have somebody send me some cassette tapes of the stuff that you guys are playing now. I said, because I know you do stuff different. I've seen lots of videos and seen you live several times, and as time goes on, a lot of the arrangements change, and they'll do something and
stops
and breaks in it, or they'll do a whole solo section in harmony that they didn't do in the original record.
Yeah.
So if I could hear what you guys are doing now, I can kind of bone up on that stuff. And he goes, nah, just come play with us. And I was like, okay, that was that. So first gig we played that with him, I was playing at this Canoctai Resort in California. It's on the ocean, a bunch of rich boaters and fancy, schmaltzy kind of place, and so we're playing. And I had one of those goofy moments of I'm playing along and doing the gig and watching everybody play and learning and all of that, and we're playing Swinging Doors. So the intro goes by, and then comes time for a solo, and I play my solo. At the end of my solo, I play the ending, like the little turnaround lick that would have been the tail part of the intro, and I put that on the end of my solo. And just when I finished it, and he starts singing again, I had one of those, just finished, and I'm looking down and finished my little lick, and he starts singing, and I hear him singing. And just for a half a second, it was one of those, man, it just sounds like, oh yeah, it's him. I had one of those like dumbass kind of deals where, I can't believe I'm here.
I can imagine that.
First gig that happened to me,
I kind of felt that same way that day when I met you guys as we ended that show, and at one point it was just me and Merle sitting on the bus, and nobody else was up there, and he was talking to me.
Yeah.
And I realized I wasn't hearing a word he was saying, because in my head, all I was thinking is I'm sitting here with Merle Haggard, and I had just lost half the conversation. So it's kind of a similar thing with what you're talking about.
You're kind of in such shock over where you are. You kind of forget where you are and what happened.
Yeah, I will say he was really nice to us, though. I really,
he was a wonderful
enjoyed
person, definitely.
Big loss. I'm so thankful that we got to do a show with him just shortly before he passed. And Ben was playing guitar with him and did a fantastic job. I think Ben's a great player. Really come a long ways.
Yeah.
Great singer too. To me, he just sounds so much like his dad.
Awesome.
Obviously you're really regarded as a a player's player. Everybody, the country guys, all really love your playing. But who is
They
probably
need to get out more.
who's probably your favorite? All right, we had to change cameras here. The other one filled up on us. I had just asked Redd, who is his favorite country player?
Roy Nichols, without a doubt, to me, of his playing. And I didn't know at the time when the hook went in, but just something about it just did it for me. And as time goes on, I'm still amazed at his whole thing. And now I can kind of, I don't know if I can kind of or not, but to me, it makes more sense to me now that maybe why he was, but I didn't know it, of course, so I still don't know anything, but I knew a lot less then. But just when he played, how he did things and the little things that he snuck in when he played country music was he had a little bit of jazz influence, a little bit of western swing influence, lots of blues influence, just all kind of flavors that he would add to the different songs. And depending on the song, he would put a little bit more blues in it, or a little bit more jazz in it, or he'd play a real nice country melody, and at the very end he would put like a little augmented thing in there, and it just make you snap your head kind of stuff. And to me, that's so rare to hear a guy that's that well versed in other kinds of music, and be able to somehow make that stuff fit in there, And I think, to me, at the time and today still, he was the king of that kind of, I call it sneaky playing, because he's sneaking in. He's not just playing straight up country melodies or chicken picking only, or a certain bag. He could do it, all those different things, and somehow sneak it in and make it sound beautiful in a ballad or in a hot rod fast kind of honky tonk nighttime man kind of tune. He just had that ability to do whatever he wanted or whatever he felt like, it seems like, and it fit, because he had so much knowledge of all the different styles. But to him it was like, it's an A, why wouldn't it fit? I don't know, but I'm guessing that's probably how he thought.
I went back and watched as many live videos as I could find of him, and to me, what strikes me about him is not so much that he could do all that stuff, but he could tastefully do it. He didn't jack the song just to try to throw. I've seen so many people that had such a bag of tricks that it actually kind of messed the band up.
Because it's too much of a good thing.
It wasn't that way with him.
Yeah, not at all.
So speaking of him being able to do all those different types of music, what would be one of your favorite rock players?
Oh, well, as a kid, I listened to, Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple a lot, and of course Jimmy Page. 10 years after, had a guy named Alvin Lee, not Albert Lee, and he's famous for a thing called "I'm Going Home" on Woodstock video, and real super fast and super clean kind of player. And so he was a big hero of mine as a kid that I listened to, studied a lot. Tried to steal his licks off the record, because I need a lot,
You ever had the opportunity to meet any of those guys that you mentioned?
No.
I rarely hear of anyone that's got to meet Jimmy Page.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't know anybody that's ever met him either.
Yeah, it'd be something neat.
Might not be real.
Yeah, you may not. What's next for you? I know you made the big move from Texas to Virginia, kind of living the small town farm life, found some cool little things to play in your town, some good players. We've been watching you live at the grocery or general store,
Floyd Country Store.
We're watching that a lot. It's real good. So what's the next thing for you the next few years?
Next few years, I don't know. I'll probably cut a lot of grass with the tractor, feed some animals, that kind of stuff, and hopefully do a little bit of playing. I mean, I moved out there on purpose to get away from playing 7 nights a week in clubs.
Yeah.
So where I'm at, there's nothing like that and no scene like that. So whatever playing I'm going to do will be traveling, where I'll drive somewhere, fly somewhere. So, of course, with the COVID, I've had the last year and a half off, so I got a lot of fences fixed and lots of stuff done at home. So
Now you're heading to Switzerland or Sweden?
going to Switzerland in August, and then by myself, I'm going to play with a band from over there, and they're going to back me up on the stuff, and I'll play with their band as well. And then in December, I'm booked with the Western Flyers band out of Fort Worth. We're going to Dubai.
Dubai.
Yeah. So
Wow.
never been there, know nothing about it. I've seen pictures of all the
Looks nice.
fancy lights and stuff. It looks like Las Vegas.
You know, they built a bunch of man-made islands
Yeah.
and stuff there that I read about it, and it was incredible how they did it. I mean, they just had to take so much rock out there
Right.
and just keep stacking it. There's big fingers that go out in the ocean. I
Yeah.
think they're building houses out there. And
Yeah, big
everything.
buildings. Yeah.
That sounds
So I'm
amazing.
looking forward to that. And other than that, it just, some gigs here and there, and I got a little recording rig set up at home, so I've been doing, I guess you'd call it Dropbox sessions, where if you're making a CD, you send me the files and I'll put my stuff on at home, send it back, and then I'm on your CD, and you never even had to look at me.
I do want to mention that for any of you guys that are coming up on a plateau with your playing, or maybe you're new to country guitar or other types of guitar, Redd does Skype lessons. You can reach out to him. He's easy to find on Facebook or anything, and very responsive. So get with him and get some lessons from him. I guarantee you it will break you out of whatever box you're stuck in, because he had my mind spinning last night on some stuff I was hearing in my right ear. So yeah, check out his Skype lessons. I actually had a guy call me this morning that drove down from Missouri to see us.
Oh, wow.
His name's Brett Marks, who took some Skype lessons from me. He called just a little bit ago. So my last question: playing with Merle Haggard is such an amazing thing, but are there any big bucket list items remaining for you that you have not got to do yet that you want to happen?
Well, there's a big if I get to heaven, I want to play with all the Western swing guys that are up there. Other than that, but I might be looking up from the basement. I don't know, but around here, I don't know. I've never been. I got to do this. I got to do that. I've never been that kind of guy. I'm content with whatever comes along, and I kind of believe in. If it's your turn, it's your turn. If something's going to happen for you, that's what's going to happen. And if somebody's making that happen for us, and that's just how it goes. And so I don't have any intentional plans where I say, I'm going to search out this guy and try and get a gig with him.
I really feel very similar to that in my life. Even with Lucky Dog, I feel like that. The good Lord has opened so many doors for me that I couldn't even go knock on. If I did, they wouldn't answer. They wouldn't. There's people you can't reach out to. They're not going to. They don't even manage their page or something. Somebody else does or something.
Totally.
But it's just like one door after another has opened, and I've learned to trust that if I'm doing the right thing and doing people right and keeping my life focused in the right direction, that he's going to take care of it.
Yeah.
Redd, it was awesome to play with you and hang out with you, and I hope everybody enjoys this interview, and I hope you have a safe trip home today too.
Thank you very much.